This episode of Around the Grounds with Chocco is brought to you by Central Murray Live, 1332 3SH and 107.7 Mix FM. To Around the Grounds with Chocco, and I have a very special guest this evening, and he's a true champion from the region of Kahuna, and he's been in football for a lot of years. He's got a smile on his face, and he's done a lot for their community, and particularly football in the region, and he's got a cheeky grin both on and off field, and I speak of the one and only Trevor. Trev, welcome to Around the Grounds, mate.
Yeah, evening, Chocco.
Mate,
thanks, mate.
It's a pleasure to have you, mate, because obviously it's great we're going to delve into your career, mate. But tell us, as a young fella, where did it all start?
All started back in for the Union Footy Club, back in the Northern District Footy League. We had 8 clubs there, and I probably started at probably 9 or 10 years of age in the force there, and back in the day, there was obviously 2 clubs there, Cuna and Union, in the hometown. And I remember back in the force, we had that many numbers. I think we had over 40 kids in the force. So we only got 2 quarters each. As soon as halftime come, you went and had a share, and the next side come on. So abundance of young kids playing in Cuna for both sides back in the day.
Now, mate, for the viewers and the listeners that probably don't know, Kahuna, population of about 2,500?
Yeah, roughly, 25, yeah, mate.
So 2,500, obviously got a bit of a district around them. 2 teams in the 2,500. Tell us, you played for Union, but the other team was Kahuna. What was it like to have 2 teams in a small population like that?
Well, probably predominantly Union was more filled with probably farmers to a certain degree, I would have thought, and Cuna was more the town folk, I would have thought. But there was a huge rivalry between the 2 clubs. I remember when I first started in seniors, and I went down with a few of the older players down to the local pub. There was only one drinking hole there, and we had to walk into the back of the pub. Union drank in it was called the Snake Pit, and Cuna were in the bar. So we sort of looked across at each other in the bar, and back in the day, you hardly even acknowledged each other. It was terrible. It was really terrible. And it was only until a good mate of mine, his parents built the tavern up in the main drag there, and he started videoing home games and away games, and we'd go back to the tavern, Union. So Union had the tavern, and Cuna kept drinking at the pub, I guess.
So, mate, you played your footy at Union, and part of that was, mate, you played 199 games with Union. You couldn't get to the 200, or just out of luck?
Yeah. Well, it was quite incredible, actually, that life membership at Union was 200 games, and when the amalgamation happened, it was funny that both me and my brother both finished on 199, one game short of 200. But at the presentation night that year, the club, luckily enough, presented us with life membership medals for the 199, I guess.
Well deserved, I guess, in that case, mate. But Union, they were the green and gold. Pretty proud tradition, and part of that, mate, you played in the 1988 grand final. You would have just been a bit of a kid back then, mate. Tell us about what it was like in 1988, undefeated, and you won the grand final.
Yeah, undefeated, coached by a great mate of mine that come back to the club. He's 10 years older than me, but never Lions. He was a Union boy that went to Geelong to play under 19s when he was a young fella, and he'd come back. He actually coached Tullybuck, Nifty, and then he come to Union, We had a really good side in '88. A lot of mature guys that had been down to Geelong, Gavin Free, Colin Anderson, and Nifty as well. But to go through undefeated, bit of a wet day. I remember it at Barham, and we played Pyramid Hill. They hadn't played in a grand final for a lot of years, and I think probably by about the 15-minute mark, we might have had close to 10 goals on the board, or 8 or 9 goals. The game was over probably in the first 15 minutes, really, and then the rain came, so she was all over.
Now, is that the game that apparently you kicked a goal that was given a point?
Who told you? That was in '87 against Kerrang, actually. Who told you that?
Was it?
Yeah, I watched it the other night, actually, and yeah, we went straight over the goal umpire's head, and he's given it a point. But anyway, talk about that another day.
Well, as I said, it's great to reminisce on that. But was there a connection between Union and Geelong back then? Or was that part of Geelong's recruiting zone?
Yeah, Geelong zone, mate. Geelong zone. We had Tony Keeley. He played at Wernine, and he was a Union boy. He went to North Melbourne under 19s. No doubt it was the best team I ever played in. I reckon it would have been. It would have pushed a lot of big country leagues. So I would have thought that team that year. We had 3 or 4 30-year-olds that were very good players, and a lot of good kids to come up, sort of thing. Yeah, it was.
So 1988 started your development in your career, mate. But let's talk about 1990. Only a couple of years down the track. Some blokes don't get the opportunity to win premierships. I know you played in 5 grand finals in a row and managed to win 2. But 1990, mate, tell us a bit about that, because that probably represents some special 30 years this year. But what made that a special grand final?
Well, we did. Yeah, we went started in '86. We played off, and we went right through to '90. So 5 years in a row we played, and favourites in '89, and we got pipped. Leachville rolled us by, I think, under a goal. And then 1990, we lost. We lost 3 of our good Neville Lyons had retired, and Gavin Free went to coach McCorner, and Colin Anderson went to coach Kundrook Barham, so we were pretty much depleted. And then I think by round 1, the coach that was appointed got a job transfer, so they coaxed Neville Lyons back into playing. But getting onto that game, I think Kerrang might have been undefeated, or they could have only lost 1, but we ended up finishing just 5th. The last home and away game, I think we beat a Chocco team by a couple of 100 points, and we snuck into the 5. And we went through to the prelim, and one of our better players, Bruce Bird, got suspended. He had a lot of X factor about him, and a good mate of mine rolled an ankle, and he didn't come up as well, Hayden Bird. But 1990 was super special, because I think our average age was only about 20, and to come from 5th and roll Kerrang, and odds-on favourites to win it. And lucky enough, in the 3-quarter time it was close, but I think the youth on our side, I think we pushed away in the last quarter and won by, I think, 4.5 goals, I think.
So top 5 back then?
Yeah, top 5 back then. As I said, we just snuck in, and we played Moama, the elimination. The Noel coached by Tony Jones, and he was a legend from as far as Vic Country goes. His daughter's actually on Fox Sports, Sarah Jones.
Yep.
Yeah, great footballer, Tony Jones.
So, mate, 1990, you came from what? Was that a start of some belief that the club knew that there was some success coming on? Like, what happened after 1990?
Well, as I said, that was our 5th grand final in a row. And then I guess we thought it was going to we took it for granted. We thought, the grand final seems to come around every year type thing. And then I don't think we played finals again until the amalgamation. Just weight of numbers in the district and, farms closing down, I guess, and volumes of families leaving the area. But, I guess, weight of numbers probably forced the amalgamation with Kiona.
Now, mate, I'll get on to the amalgamation shortly, mate, but I know something that most blokes I've spoken to is really that have really thrived around is the reunions and to be able to go back and reminisce on these times. How important is that for someone like yourself who has been involved and as a youngster, obviously, you said the average age was 22 in 1990. How important it is now to be able to sit back 30 years and talk about those great times? Yeah,
well, I've actually, this is our 30th years, and this is, can you see that, Chocco?
Yep. Yeah, I can.
And on the back, it's we've got all the players' names and what number they wore, and that probably jumping means it's probably the best thing hanging in the wardrobe, to be honest. There's nothing better than playing. I think in '85 when I first went in the seniors, I think 11 us. I think we won 50 games straight in the thirds union. We didn't drop any. I think 11 of us went straight into the seniors the following year. And my first year senior football, I was coached by Jinka Faring, who's probably remembered from kicking the longest ever goal at Moorabbin. And I was probably just fortunate enough that they put time into me as a kid, and I'm truly grateful for that. And there's nothing like playing a premiership with your best mates that you went to school with. And I went to Geelong in January this year, and I made sure I rang up Nifty Lives at Parliament Heads and made sure I caught up with my coach and had a good laugh with him. He's just got Vince Foot down the road, shifted in down the road from him. So, yeah, great times, reunions for sure.
Yeah, mate. You spoke about the amalgamation, but and you spoke about the rivalry. What was it like in '96, '97 when Kahuna were the Kangas, Union came together? Oh, sorry, Union were the Kangas and Kahuna. You formed the Kahuna Kangas. What was that like back then in the community when that occurred? Tell us a bit about how that came about.
Well, I guess the amalgamation of course happened because of weight of numbers and the clubs were struggling. So, but I guess everyone's question was how are they going to join and be united as one after being so opposing over the years, I guess. But to be honest, in the first year that they amalgamated, I went out to coach McCorner for a couple of years. But to be honest, Chocco, I think the amalgamation has been very successful. We're a very proud town, Kiona. I think I could be biased, but I think we've had probably the best juniors in the. What have we been in the comp? 22 years now. I think we might have won 8 or 10 Colts flags. It's probably been a bit sad that we haven't got the senior flag as yet, but we're probably reasonably confident this year with the recruiting that we've done. But unfortunately, COVID's put a dampener on that. But we'll be going flat out again next year. Hopefully, we can get our first premiership, I guess, for the club.
And you mentioned, you haven't had that senior success, but mate, it wasn't long until you got into the competition. And for the viewers, you came into the Central Murray in 1997, and it wasn't, it was only 2 or 3 years, and you were playing in a grand final against Naya. Naya had some of the better players, like, the big recruits. You were a part of that team that played against Naya. What was it like? Did you feel that you had to earn the respect of the other teams, or was it a matter of just like we've got nothing to lose, let's just get out there and do it?
Look, to be honest, looking back, Nye were probably they picked up probably 10 players. I would have thought. I'm only presuming, but they were always going to be hard to beat. With Barry coaching them, but we were reasonably confident that day. I remember that we had a few from Kilmore, Andy Stewart, and a couple of Langbourne boys. But we do resign to the fact that Nye were too good, and they obviously wouldn't have had premiership success for a while, but they went back to back. That was under Sean Philo. He probably actually probably prolonged my career a bit by putting me in the back pocket, because the 4 days were just about gone from kicking goals and that. Them days were past me, I think. So. And
you were a pretty tough opponent to play against, because it was find ball, get ball for you, mate. You're pretty tough. You made sure your opponents earned it. Was that the type of game you played towards the end of your career?
I wouldn't say that. I was pretty blind, to be honest, Chocco. I played most of my career without bloody contacts, and it was not until I went out in the corner and I was putting magnets on the board and I couldn't read the magnets. So I said to the wife, I said, "How am I going to go coach and I can't even read the magnets?" I had terrible eyesight, and then the missus talked me into going to get some contacts, and it was amazing the turnaround that I can see. But look, I did play to win. Like, that was in me genes. My family are pretty sporting orientated. I think my dad played in 4 in a row for Union. I had an older brother, Alan. You wouldn't know Alan, but he's played in the senior flag, and so there might be 9 flags between us. 9 flags between the families in the family. Yeah.
And it's a pretty well-known name, particularly in the region, the Herd family. And the great thing about it is now is, you've got your 2 sons who have played senior football and your daughter's playing netball. As a parent now, watching them, how does that make you feel, knowing that generations are starting to evolve at the club?
Yeah, look, it means, to be honest, Chocco, it means the world to me, to be honest. Like, I played all my life footy for nothing, and I just played for the jumper, I guess. And, my theory is, if they can get the enjoyment out of football, what I got out of it, I'll be more than happy. If they can get a senior, I think the senior flag's the key. I can hardly remember my 3rds and 4th flags. I think it's so important. That the main one is get a senior flag. You got that forever, and your mates forever. Have a beer and have a chat about the day. We have a laugh about things, on particular things. So hopefully they'll get the rewards one day, like I did, and have a bit of fun and meet good people, and just have a lot of fun, I guess.
Now, you mentioned before about the juniors particularly, and I'd have to agree. Like, the club has just got an outstanding record with juniors. And, to your credit, you've been a part of it. I know I've worked with you with junior development, particularly across the region and stuff. But, Purdy, how important is it to making sure that your kids are playing sport? And what is it that Kahuna do for these kids? Because year in, year out, your juniors are there come the last day in September and successful. And, and I speak of some kids, mate, you've had some fantastic success, Flynn Appleby, and you can really, a number of different players. What is it that Kahuna do to make sure that they put the time and effort into these kids?
I think they, to be honest, Chocco, I think they get the right coaches around, and I think it's important that you get the right skill set on kids, left and right sides, and probably the most important thing is that they just have fun. And I don't think winning's everything. I think it's more development. I think if winning's not everything in development. Josh Tracy's probably a good kid that's obviously AFL clubs hopefully will attract his attention next year, and hopefully he'll get drafted. Another one from Kierna type thing, but yeah.
Well, it seems to, whatever you're doing, it's definitely working, because it's, I guess, sets the foundation for the club, because, we mentioned the small population. You've got a number of clubs around the region. It must be difficult to retain your players as well, your juniors.
It is, because probably for us, we're the furthest south side in the comp, I think. So, you got universities and that with kids going so they're going in the opposite direction. So, which makes it hard to come back to, and because that's our closest game key, From there, it's, up to Swan Hill, so to speak. But, with the likes of Tommy Toma, he's probably a leader on the track, and, with kids, he's the perfect role model for the kids to follow. No one trains as hard as Tommy Toma, and he's a classical mentor, I guess, for the kids to follow. And I think he could be the Pied Piper for the Cunningham seniors at the moment. That's how I regard Troy Coates back at the success he had at Kerrang. I felt as if he was the Pied Piper, and his players followed him. I sort of tend to think that that could be the case with Cunningham at the moment with Tommy Toma, hopefully.
Well, Tommy is a great player. He's had a lot of experience, mate. But mate, you've won best league, best and fairest. You've won senior premierships, B&Fs at club. You're a life member. You've umpired, mate. Is there anything that stands out amongst the rest? Is there anything that you look back now? I know your premierships are something you've spoken about, but is there something that that really ticks that box for Trevor Hurd?
Well, obviously the two flags, although very different, one's undefeated, and the 1990s is probably unique. You come from fifth. As I said, the average age was so young, so both totally different. But I think the best thing is you pull on your jumper and you look beside you, and your mates are with you, and as soon as you walk out over the line, you go on the war, and hopefully you can prevail, I guess.
Yeah, and before we end it, mate, you told me a bit of a story that you had with Buff Palmer one day, an absolute ripper. Tell us a bit about that story.
You'll have to do a bit of editing here, I think, Chocco.
That's okay. That's what technology's for.
Chocco, we were playing up at Tintinder, and I think it was probably our fourth or fifth year in the competition. We've rolled Tintinder for the first time away, and because Tintinder were obviously the yardstick at that stage. And anyway, we're singing the song, and we're all saying, "We'll get up and have a beer with these blokes and celebrate the win," so to speak. And anyway, I had a pretty unique footy bag. It was multicoloured, and I thought I only had one in Australia that I had one. Anyway, I took this bag home. Sean Philo dropped me off at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I've gone in and woke the missus up, turned the light on, and I've opened up my footy bag to take my contacts out and get my glasses out of my footy bag. And I open up the footy bag, and the first thing I see is a mouthguard case, and I'm thinking, I don't wear a mouthguard. Anyway, it ended up being Buff Palmer's. So I rang him up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and anyway, I had a chat to Buff, and anyway, he said, "No worries, we'll just send it into Tasco or whatever." Anyway, it was about a month later, Chocco, we were playing Tintin in a final, and Big Buff's taking a mark about 10 metres out from goal on a bit of an angle, and someone was on the mark, and I went up to the bloke on the mark, I said, "Nick off, I'll go on the mark, I'll go on the mark." And I said, "What are you going on the mark for?" I said, "Just let me go on the mark." So I'm on the mark, and I got my hands up on the mark and I said, hey, Buff, how does your mouth guard taste? I should be saying this. And he goes, why is that, Ernie? And I said, oh, Buff, I shoved your mouth guard up my bum. You did not. I said, yeah, Buff, I did, mate. Anyway, he's kicked the goal and, it was a bit of friendly banter in it. And every time I see him, I used to hang it on him a bit. But, yeah, it was all good fun. He was quite a character, Buff, actually.
Well,
didn't mind his company.
And that's the great thing about footy, mate, is you can have those banners on field, and then off field, mate, you have a laugh, and that's what we reminisce, mate. And I'm sure if you caught up with Buff Palmer today, mate, you'd have a laugh and a bit of a joke about that story.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. Yeah, no, that's the important thing. I think you go out for your 2 hours, and you fight the battle, and I've met some great people. Matty Curran, I love Matty, and I loved his dad. Great people. Got to meet Vince Foote and yourself, Chocco. I think it's important that play hard, but and off the field you reminisce and have a beer and be mates, and that's what it's all about, mate.
Well, Herdy, absolute pleasure, mate. It's always great to catch up with you. You're a terrific fella. You've done a lot for footy. Not only for the Union Footy Club, but for Maccorner and for the Kahuna Kangas, for the schoolboys and all the different programs, mate, you're involved in. You support your kids, you support your club, mate, and you're an absolute stalwart. Pleasure having a chat with you, mate. I always love having a yarn. You put a smile on my face and many others. And stay safe, mate. Enjoy the 30-year reunion this year, mate. And thanks for joining us on Around the Grounds with Chocco tonight.
Yeah, good on you, Chocco. And just before I go, just really congratulations on your Around the Grounds. I love them, Chocco, and I love the stories. And keep it up, mate. Keep the dream going, mate. Good on you, mate.
Thanks, Herdy. Appreciate it, buddy.